We begin, though, with the busiest primary election day of the year so far. I wish we had our election music.
We'll get there. It's true. 5 states will soon choose party nominees.
Oh, wow. Regina, our director.
And you shall receive. Yes, that's right. 5 states will choose party nominees for general elections this fall. There are key governor, Senate, and congressional seats up for grabs. These races will be the clearest test yet of President Biden's popularity and the influence of former President Donald Trump.
We're covering it from all angles this morning with NBC News senior political editor Mark Murray and senior national political reporter Sahil Kapoor. Good morning to both of you. Don't you just love the sound of that music, too? Sahil, we'll start with you and that closely watched Republican primary for Pennsylvania's open Senate seat. So the most recent polling shows that Trump's pick, that's TV Dr. Oz, in a statistical dead heat with former hedge fund executive David McCormick and conservative commentator Kathy Barnett, who has surged as of late. What should we know about this contest as voters head to the polls? Where do we stand right now?
Yeah, it's primary day here in Pennsylvania. I'm just getting in the mood with that music, so thank you for that. But it is a tight three-way race. Nobody knows who is going to win this one. The late momentum is clearly all with Kathy Barnett, the far-right activist and commentator who has been a candidate for a while, but who has surged seemingly out of nowhere ever since that draft Supreme Court leak on Roe versus Wade. It's allowed her to highlight her own compelling story on the issue. She was someone who she says was conceived in rape. She opposes abortion, even in cases of rape and incest. Those positions have struck a chord here with Republican voters in this state. And she has taken advantage of the fact that neither of her two rivals has really closed the deal with voters. The Trump-endorsed Mehmet Oz has high unfavorable ratings with many Republicans. The other major Republican candidate in this race, David McCormick, is a former hedge fund executive. He also faces some doubts from the Republican base. So the latest polls show a very tight race. It is unclear if this Kathy Barnett bubble is going to pop in time for Tuesday or if it's going to be enough to push her over the line. One thing is very clear. Republican establishment figures are nervous about this race. They believe Kathy Barnett is simply too extreme to win such a competitive state like Pennsylvania. And on the Democratic side, the very likely nominee is going to be John Fetterman. He recently, just a few days ago, had a stroke in a hospital. He says he expects a full recovery. The treatment went well, and he insists it's not going to slow down his campaign.
Whew, a lot going on in that race.
For sure. And Mark, I want to bring you in. We're also watching the governor's race in Pennsylvania. Of course, this is now seen as a major swing state. And the next Pennsylvania governor will appoint the Secretary of State. That matters because that person will count the votes in 2024. We know the Trump-backed state senator Doug Mastriano was a vocal supporter of the debunked 2020 election fraud theory that the election was stolen from Trump. So these are pretty consequential elections. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, there is deserved reason to pay so much attention to the Pennsylvania Senate race that Sahil was just talking about. But the more consequential one could very well be on the Republican side for governor. And Doug Mastriano has surged into the front-runner status over the weekend. He ended up getting former President Donald Trump support. And you are right, Mastriano was behind a lot of the machinations involved in the dispute from Donald Trump and his legal team to reverse the 2020 presidential election results. Mastriano also was at the January 6th rally, and he does have Republican strategists concerned that Republicans can end up losing this governor's race if he is the nominee against Democratic Attorney General Josh Shapiro, who is running unopposed.
Sahil, let's now switch over to North Carolina. So there's a lot going on here, too, because this is incumbent Madison Cawthorn's race. He's become a well-known name. He's hoping to fend off a crowded field of Republican challengers. This is the state's 11th district. Now, Madison's 26 years old. He's had his share of controversy in this brief political career so far. So how's it looking for him this morning?
It's a bit unclear right now. The most remarkable thing about this race is the fact that it's even a race. This is a dark red district. Incumbents in his position usually tend to coast, but Madison Cawthorn keeps getting involved in one controversy after another, both of a professional nature and a personal nature. He's not well liked by his fellow House Republicans. He does not have a record of accomplishment or a list of issues that he's fighting for to show. And our colleague Jonathan Allen recently went to his district and talked to some voters, including some who voted for him in 2020. And they say he keeps getting into trouble. All we hear is controversy and they're ready to move on. Still, Cawthorn has the Trump endorsement. House primaries tend to be notoriously low turnout affairs. It's difficult to call this one. It might still be enough to allow him to hang on.
And let's talk North Carolina. I know that North Carolina votes on a new senator this fall. Current Senator Richard Burr retires at the end of this term. What should we watch for in this primary election day?
Yeah, if it weren't for Pennsylvania, North Carolina would be the presidential battleground that we'd all be focused on right now. And there is an important Senate race that comes for control of the U.S. Senate in November. And on the Republican side, we're seeing Ted Budd, the Republican congressman who has Donald Trump's support, running against former North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory. This is a race that has had a tremendous amount of fights over the airwaves. They have battled kind of from a Trump versus whether or not McCrory is loyal enough to Donald Trump. And so the winner is going to end up facing likely Democratic nominee Sherry Beasley in a much-watched contest later this fall.
Mark and Sahil, important insights. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for kicking us off on an election day. Now let's stay on this and go deeper in Pennsylvania. The state's race for its open Senate seat is one of the most closely watched contests of the midterms, as we were just talking about. And as you also just heard, this campaign has seen its share of twists and turns, including a health scare from one of the frontrunners. NBC News Chief Washington correspondent Andrea Mitchell spoke with voters from the Keystone State about what's on their minds as they head to the polls.
Some shocking last-minute twists in the high-stakes Pennsylvania Senate race. Democratic frontrunner John Fetterman revealing he suffered a stroke.
It was on Friday. I just wasn't feeling very well, so I decided, you know what, I need to get checked out.
Still in the hospital, Fetterman says he's feeling better and is on his way to a full recovery, but will not attend his election night rally tomorrow. On the Republican side, after surging into a three-way tie, conservative commentator Kathy Barnett dealing with images from January 6th of her marching alongside Proud Boys, who were later arrested and indicted. Barnett says she did not enter the Capitol and has no connection to the Proud Boys. Helping fuel her rise, the leaked Supreme Court draft that could overthrow Roe v. Wade, with a new NBC News poll showing voters' focus on abortion now on the rise.
How important do you think abortion is to voters here in Pennsylvania?
I think it should be the #1 issue for Pennsylvania voters at the moment.
It really pains me to see so many abortions that are taking place.
Republican politicians aren't talking very much about abortion as an issue, but Republican women voters sure are.
If a country loses their value for life, then I think we're lost for good.
It scares me that it's a bunch of old men that get to dictate what the majority of the people don't want.
Do I think abortion should be outlawed? Absolutely.
Other mothers in both parties still want a choice.
Women should have the right to their own body.
I don't think that folks that, don't agree with it should be making decisions about, my body.
A lightning rod issue that could have a major impact at the polls. Andrea Mitchell, NBC News, Harleysville, Pennsylvania.
Now let's get to the latest in that racist mass shooting at a supermarket in Buffalo, New York. Today, President Biden will travel there to meet with families in the aftermath of the tragedy.
That's right. The White House says President Biden and the First Lady will offer their condolences to the families of the 10 black people killed, all as the painstaking search for evidence and answers continues, and another community grapples with a mass shooting, one of several in the last few weeks. We have a team bringing the latest coverage on this attack with NBC News Now correspondent Maura Barrett on the scene in Buffalo and NBC News White House correspondent Mike Memoli. Good morning to you both. Mike, I want to start with you. As mentioned, President Biden is set to spend the day in Buffalo, New York. What's on his agenda?
Well, Zinkley, obviously the president has a lot on his plate, and he's preparing for his first trip to Asia as president, an important visit. But the White House says it was important for the president to be able to get to Buffalo before he leaves and spend some time on the ground. He's going to spend a substantial amount of time there in Buffalo today. First, he's going to be visiting that Tops Market Memorial. Him and the First Lady will pay their respects to the lives lost. Then he'll spend some private time with the family members of some of the victims, the law enforcement and first responders, as well as local leaders, before he then delivers public remarks. Now, this is all about President Biden returning to that familiar role we've seen him in so often as the consoler in chief. And we got a little bit of a preview of what we might hear from the president yesterday at the White House. Take a listen.
No one understands more than all of you here today the pain and anguish those families in Buffalo feel. But if they were pulled into as if when it happens, at least my experience, you feel like you're pulled into a black hole inside your chest, and everything, you can't, and it's hard.
Now, of course, we remember that this is a president who launched a campaign in 2019 talking about racially motivated violence in Charlottesville, something that drove him into the race. And so one of the questions as we look forward to the president's remarks today is how much will he draw on that same sentiment? A White House official saying the president will call this despicable act for what it is: terrorism motivated by a hateful and perverse ideology that tears at the soul of our nation. Of course, that is the theme of the president's campaign.
That's important. He's no stranger to grief, as we know.
Yeah, that's a great point. Now, Maura, let's talk about what's happening on the ground there. The president's visit comes as we're learning that the suspect actually planned the attack months in advance, even visited this supermarket. In fact, we actually spoke with someone here on Morning News Now yesterday who says he spoke with the suspect at this market the day before. But what do we know from authorities at this point about when the suspect was there and what he did?
Well, similar to what you've heard from President Biden there, the FBI is now calling this an act of racially motivated extremism. We're now learning from officials that the suspect visited the supermarket here as early as 2 months before the attack over the weekend, even speaking with a security guard on scene because he was questioned at the time. He was also incredibly active in online gun extremist groups. And because of all that activity online, we've also learned that in his recon, when he visited the supermarket, he planned to go further down Jefferson Avenue, potentially targeting an elementary school, a church, or other locations where he believed black people would be located. Again, we do know that he chose Buffalo, or police believe he chose Buffalo as a location because of their black population. And so a very disturbing time in the community, as this supermarket, as we know, was such a central point to where everybody in the community, it was a community hub. They got their food, and it was a food desert before the supermarket was here. And so there's a lot of uneasiness in the area, especially when we do know that he was known to officials even before the attack this weekend, Savannah.
And Mike, unfortunately, right, this issue of gun violence and hate crimes in America is not new. We've now seen it at grocery stores and churches and schools. So how is the White House planning on addressing this through legislation, especially given some of that new reporting that we've heard, right, that the gunman was actually never flagged through New York's red flag or ERPO laws, which are actually largely supported by many Democrats? What's the White House going to do? This is not new.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's why this is such a vexing question for the White House. The president only a month ago announced another list of executive actions aimed at sort of tackling guns, specifically ghost guns, which are so easily accessible, unfortunately, to too many Americans. We also heard the White House yesterday reiterating the fact that they want to see the president's nominee to lead the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, Stephen Dettelbach, confirmed by the Senate. They haven't even scheduled a hearing. So it's unclear what, in terms of legislation, really has a chance, especially as we get closer to an election year. It is interesting, though, the White House is saying that the president will use his remarks today to reissue that call to try to maybe jumpstart some of the momentum. But it's also interesting what's on the schedule for the First Lady tomorrow. She is, of course, joining the president today. I just was with her in Eastern Europe, where so much of her a tour related to the Ukraine refugees got into the issue of mental health. She has talked about wanting to make that a focus, not just in terms of internationally, but here at home. And tomorrow at the White House, she's actually going to be holding an event on the importance of bringing more resources to mental health, specifically for young Americans. This is something I think to watch for down the road as an area of focus as well.
And Maura, let's now talk about the other side here. Republican lawmakers, what we're hearing from them. I mean, we know that this attack has sparked outrage across the country. Republican lawmakers are specifically pushing to bring back the death penalty in New York. What can you tell us about that effort?
Well, Savannah, despite the fact that we've seen so many mass shootings across this country, many of them hate crimes, there's always been little momentum to do anything about gun control in terms of legislation by lawmakers, right? But here in New York, in terms of the after effect, the punishment they're looking for, New York Republicans are calling for the death penalty to be reinstated in this case. This is something that New York has not done since 1963, and it has become a hot-button political topic here in the state from Republicans against Democrats. And so it's something that we'll continue to see percolate around the conversation. But in terms of what we do know right now of how the suspect is being prosecuted, he's been charged with 1 count of murder. His next court date is on Thursday, and the county attorney general says that right now that 1 count is all he needs to bring the suspect to court, and then he plans and expects more accounts to be brought by the grand jury once the suspect is in court. Savannah.
Maura Barrett from Buffalo, New York for us, and Mike Memoli, thank you both so much.
Let's now turn to the war in Ukraine, where one of the most brutal battles in Russia's ongoing invasion could be coming to an end. Officials confirmed that more than 260 Ukrainian fighters holed up in a besieged steel plant in Mariupol were evacuated overnight. The soldiers were taken to towns held by Russian-backed rebels, with those badly wounded transported to a hospital. NBC News senior national correspondent Jay Gray joins us now from Lviv. Jay, good morning. This steel plant was the last pocket of Ukrainian resistance in Mariupol. Ukraine's military says this garrison has now fulfilled its combat mission. Russian forces are saying Ukrainians surrendered. So tell us about how this latest operation came to be and what's really going on with these evacuated soldiers.
Well, it looks like it's the beginning of a deal, in Ukraine officials' words, to save their heroes. And what's basically happened is the most severely injured were the first to come out. More than 200, as you talk about, evacuated overnight. They're moved into Russian-held territory and getting the medical attention they have desperately needed for weeks now. And this is the first step in what Ukrainian officials say will eventually be a exchange procedure. I want to make sure I got that phrase right. This is their words, exchange procedure. Ultimately, it looks like they will trade prisoners of war to bring those Ukraine soldiers back into the country here. Still not clear how many soldiers remain behind in that steel plant. We do know, though, that it is now the goal of the officials here in Ukraine to get them all out and basically, in essence, surrendering that area to Russian troops.
And I know there have also been reports of explosions in Lviv, where you currently are. I hope you and the crew are staying safe. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, all good on our behalf, and thank you for that. This is the second of 3 nights that we've seen missile attacks in the Lviv region. 2 waves of missiles, according to officials, taking aim at this area and striking about 25 miles from where we're standing right now, damaging parts of a village and a training facility, a military training facility that had been hit just a couple of days before. It shows a bit of a different trend for the Russian war plan, moving a bit closer to the east and closer to NATO country, Poland, not far from the border.
And Jay, quickly, on the diplomatic front, we're monitoring NATO news. Finland and Sweden decided to apply for NATO membership. How did President Putin react to the news, given how NATO averse he is? And what are we hearing from NATO leaders as well?
Yeah, well, yesterday, President Putin made it clear that he's not worried about the decision to make that move unless, he says, it brings with it a stepped-up military presence, which obviously it would. And then he says there would be consequences, though not detailing what those consequences may be. NATO has said that they want to fast-track this. Turkey, though, may be standing in the way. The president there says that he is adamantly opposed to Finland and Sweden joining NATO. It seems to push back to weapons sales and Sweden denying weapon sales to Turkey in 2019 because of their interaction with Syria. And so that's an issue that's got to be resolved. Negotiators from both Finland and Sweden headed to Turkey, though the president says they're wasting their time.
A lot to follow. Jay Gray, thanks for breaking it down.
Let's now bring in Hagar Shamali for more on the situation in Ukraine.
She is the host of Oh My World on YouTube. She's also the former spokesperson for the U.S. mission to the UN and the former NSC director for Syria and Lebanon.
Yeah, Hagar, thanks so much for being with us. Let's start with what we just heard there from Jay's reporting on the situation in Mariupol. So what do you make of Ukraine's successful evacuation of the soldiers that were still in that city, something we were talking about for a long time? We know so many of them were so injured with no medical supplies, no doctors. And also, what do you think of the fierce resistance they put up there for nearly 3 months?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, first of all. It's remarkable, actually, that you have this evacuation at all. I didn't expect any evacuation of Ukrainian soldiers because of how we've seen the Russian military abuse other civilians and other soldiers across the country. And so to have any evacuation, although they are being taken to Russian territory, which is important, I don't want to be too optimistic just yet. Let's be cautious about it. But at the same time, to have any evacuation whatsoever is in itself is important. And the thing that I took away from it personally is that as they have this, as President Zelensky has said, as part of what he hopes to be a prisoner swap. And I would expect that to happen. To me, that's a sign that you have some kind of deal-making and negotiations between the two sides that is achievable. And as I have been screaming about the need for peace negotiations as the only end to this, to me, that is a hopeful sign. But it is under very, very sad circumstances because it does mean that all of Mariupol now goes to Russian control.
Yeah, and also there's still an unfolding humanitarian crisis there, of course, with just civilians still in the city. Now I want to ask you about NATO and what's going on with Sweden and Finland's efforts to join. So we actually have some new information that the Turkish president announced he would not support either country's bid to join the alliance. Why is that? Walk us through this stance. And could this rejection put a strain on Turkey's relationship within NATO going forward?
Right. The Turkish president alleges that it is personal in nature, basically, that it is bilateral problems between Turkey and these countries, specifically related to arms shipments and apparently related to Kurdish prisoners that are being refused to be extradited to Turkey, and he wants those prisoners. So he claims that it's a bilateral issue between the countries. I would imagine that Turkey's relationship with Russia, it has a good relationship with Russia. It likes to maintain that relationship with Russia. I would imagine that would factor into it, even though the Turkish president doesn't say so. Now, it is not surprising that the Turkish government, that President Erdogan would try to block this, not just because my concern from the beginning was the relationship with Russia, but because the Turkish government behaves like a bully. That is not new to them. They will try to get something out of it. So I am hopeful that this will happen. I am not pessimistic about it. It's going to require a lot of negotiating from the Finnish, from the Swedes, and also from the United States. And so I expect them to reach an agreement of some kind.
Absolutely. Quickly, I want to ask you, before I let you go, about the situation on the ground and the fight. We've seen Ukrainian forces push Russia all the way back to the border at Kharkiv. Is this evidence that the West's support for Ukraine is working, those weapons we're sending, any training we've been doing? And could Russia be rethinking its strategy of capturing eastern Ukraine as sort of what we're thinking is their new end goal at this point? What does this mean now?
It's a bit of a push and pull. So the Ukrainian military is extremely impressive. And for sure, any strength you're seeing is it's equal parts. It's equal parts of their unity, their resistance, their morale, their high morale, their dedication, mixed with, for sure, bolstered by the support of all the military aid they're getting from the United States, NATO, and Europe. And so you do see that result. But I just don't want to be overly optimistic, because although they show their strength and how much they can achieve and how much they can push back, it is very risky that Russia could take over land in the south and east and then regroup, because from there things could get very scary.
Absolutely. Hagar, Shamali, thank you so much for your time and analysis this morning. Always great to see you.
Let's now get a check at your morning news now weather.
Which means Michelle Grossman joins us, and she's in studio today. Hey, Michelle, good morning.
Good morning,
guys. And I see that map. I'm feeling like July.
I like the
very
sound
large.
of that.
I can see it from here.
I like it too. I know. I know you guys were like, woo, when you saw that map. Yeah, feeling like July in so many spots. We're talking 90s and 100s out there. So here's the reason why. Here's a jet stream, right? Kind of closes the door to any cooler air coming down from Canada. It allows all that warm air to come in. So that translates to temperatures in the 90s, even some spots over 100 degrees. So 10 to 20 degrees above what is typical for this time of year. Dallas, 96 degrees. San Antonio, 99. Laredo, 105. Houston, 94. Here's the problem. This is our 10th day straight of record highs in Texas. So we're going to see that over the next few days. And this is reaching as far north as Denver, even Wichita, 86 degrees. That's 8 degrees above what is typical for this time of year. But guess what happens? It slides to the east. So now Charlotte, you're going to be near 90 degrees tomorrow. Montgomery, 95, 89 degrees in Nashville, 10 degrees above what is average. And then as we go through the later part of the week, I don't know if you guys know this, into the weekend, New York City, we're going to be near 90 degrees by Saturday, 88 degrees. Philadelphia, 92 on Saturday. D.C., you're already at 90 on Friday, 93 on Saturday. So certainly feeling like July, too, in parts of the Northeast by the end of the week into the weekend. So prompting all this warmth and all this heat, we are looking at a chance for severe weather once again. It's severe weather season. So 7 million at risk today. Winds gusting near 60 miles per hour, damaging hail up to an inch or larger. Also a tornado risk. It's low, but it's not zero. So we're looking at enhanced intense risk. That's where you see the orange, including Omaha City, Kansas City. That is where severe weather is likely later on this afternoon. And you guys were looking at a slight risk, too, where you see the yellow. So some stormy weather in the Central Plains today.
Yeah, absolutely. And some heat in other parts of the country.
I can dig some heat. I think sweater weather is done.
No, I think
I'm done.
Well, I don't know, but the rain, it's raining.
I know. Yeah. Well, not today. Today's going to be nice. Get out.
Good.
Enjoy sunshine.
Right. Okay, great.
All
right. Thanks, Michelle. We love the good news. See you in a bit.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.